Hey, I'm back, and today I'm going to talk about how you can kind of fake your way into a choir sound. So basically what I did is I recorded my voice 4 times. I did this kind of a old chorale style, and so I have 4 different voices, and then I used MUnison to make it sound like a choir. So I'll tell you how I did this first. So first I wrote the piece quickly. I'll try to put it up here on screen so you can see it, and I did that all in MIDI, and this made it easier for me because I just soloed the parts and sang them. So here it is using a very cheap sounding synthesizer. So it sounds bad, but this actually did help me get it done faster because instead of spending lots of time practicing this, I could just use this as a guide track and sing with it. I can't sing that well, so I used Melodyne to kind of help my voice out. I'll let you hear this one, just me singing the tenor part, so you can hear what it sounds like. You can hear my bad singing yourself. So here it is. Chandler guitar. So you can hear there's kind of some problems there. I used Melodyne to try to fix some of the pitch problems. It's not perfect, and I really should have done more takes to get it perfect, but it sounds good enough, at least for this demonstration. It sounds much better when you put everything together. So let me mute it. I'll let you hear all the voices together with no MUnison. Yes, there's just 4 voices. So still a little bit off, not perfect, but it's good enough. So after that, what I did was I went through and I tried to make the volumes about equal. There's various plugins you can use for that. There's M Loudness by Melda Productions that will do it. Also, is it the VU meter by Hornet will do it for you also. So those are good, easy ways that will give you an approximate loudness level. After that, I just set the faders, but then I went through and EQ'd it. I just did very basic EQing, just trying to get out some resonance. My voice sounds a little bit boxy, and I'm using an SM57, which isn't the best vocal mic. I probably should have changed to something better so it didn't have that kind of boxy sound, which my voice has. But anyways, when I get to the real nitty-gritty of this, it's MUnison. So let me turn this on here, and I'll do each track one by one. So for this one, you see I have 8 voices. I have 100% wet and dry. The pitch, I have this a little bit more than what I normally use. I have the pitch at 0.15, that's about 15 cents. The shape, this basically says how spread out the voices are. So of course it randomizes the voices. Some of the voices might be 1 cent, one might be 15 cent, one might be 7 cent, etc. So it's randomized between 0 and 15 cents. And by moving the shape above 0, what it does is it kind of biases them more towards the 15 side instead of the 0 side. So that's what I have there, and has some variation. So the pitch is going to be changing over time, and that's the speed that's going to be changing. Usually the stereo is set at 100%, but I think it actually sounds better a little bit narrower, like 50% or less for these kind of choir sounds. I have the whole track panned to the left, I think, here. Let me check. I don't even know. Tenor 1. Yeah, to the left, 60%. Formats, I have a little bit of variation, so it sounds like different voices. And the most important part here is the delay. I have this set at about 200. Normally, I'd like to set it lower if I'm just doing like one voice for like rock stuff, maybe like 50 milliseconds, 60. But I think for a choir sound, you need a wider spread of time. So I have 200 milliseconds. If you do it too much, it sounds like a delay, which is not what you want. And the shape, the same as I said with the pitch, they're more biased towards the 200 millisecond area as opposed to the 0 millisecond area. And I do have a little bit of variation on that. But enough talking, let's hear it. So a little bit out of tune there, but I kind of want that because it sounds better as a choir, I think. But that's one thing you can do with that. So you can see the settings there. And I also shifted the format up. Shifting the format will kind of change the sound of it. I'll show you what it sounds like here. I'll set it 0 and then kind of move it up and down so you can hear what it does. So as you can hear, if you move it up too much, up or down, it's going to sound unnatural. It gets kind of like a chipmunk sound, or like a weird bass sound. But within reason, it does kind of change your voice into sounding either higher or lower. So there we go. Let's look at the second voice. I'll do these quickly so you can see. There's just slight differences. Like here I have 0% format shift, but it's basically the same preset. Okay, next voice, same thing. I shifted this down a little bit, format shift that is. Here we go. And last one, bass voice here. Here we go. So this would be better if I could sing a little bit better, but like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, but let's listen to them all together now. Here we go. So, of course, it's always better to have a real choir, but of course, recording a real choir costs lots of money and takes lots of time, microphones, etc. So, in a pinch, I think this will work, and for me, I think this would be good enough, especially for a background part for something. But let's move on. I'll give you another example here. Let's solo this. Here's another one. I'll just let you listen to this. Well, it's restarting it. Turn the loop off. Here we go. So you heard that. Now we can change this a little bit. I don't want it so high. I want it to move this a little bit lower. Let's see about here. And let's move it down here because this sounds way too high. Let me actually move this down. It's a little bit out of tune. And another thing you can use is the harmonizer here. So have it count 5. Let's move this down to 3 voices, and I'm going to move 1 down an octave. Actually, let's do it 2 voices like this. So I have 1, it's the original pitch, and 1's going to be down an octave. So let's listen to this. And still a little bit out of tune, but we can try to fix that if we want. Let me change it to chromatic. So you can hear by adding that lower octave, it adds a little bit more bass to that. I should probably harmonize that as well. And you can actually do that here, but I don't want to spend lots of time on that. So that's something you can do. I could even do count of 3 and do like 1 octave up if I wanted to. And so that gives it a little bit more thickness by adding the octave up and an octave down. I could even harmonize it if I wanted to, like, I guess a 5th up, but I don't think this is going to sound as good. Can't really hear that. And another thing, if you think, the settings don't sound so good, it sounds a little bit like smeared, or you can't hear the melody that well, mess with the buffer size. Increasing it will increase the, I guess, melodic resolution or harmonic resolution, I should say, and moving it down will increase the transients the transient clarity, I should say. So you can do that. But let me show you just one more example here. So here's an example. I'll turn this off for a second so you can hear. It's just random noise and yelling.
Ha! Hoo ha!
Yeah, so that was fun for me to make. But let's try to shift that into something else. So it sounds like a group of people yelling. So move this down. Actually, let me just use a different preset here. So I can use speaking crowd loose. There we go. Like this.
Ha! Hoo ha!
There we go. But I hear a little bit of chattering there. Let me turn on the limiter. I had the gain up a little bit too high too. So the chattering comes from this threshold. I want to move this all the way down to 0 so there'll be no chattering. And also, it sounds pretty good, but I want this to be a little bit lower. So first, let's lower the formats. Let's try here. Then move this one all the way to -12. And let's try like -10 or so. There we go. Let's hear it now. Actually, let me move this up a little bit. And move this down. Here we go. So I can mess with these voices and I can try to change the sound of it until I get something where it's exactly what I want. I can move the format up a little bit. But if you want those kind of like chants you'd hear, and also maybe messing with the buffer size, this might be something that might benefit from the lower buffer size to really emphasize the transient. One more time. And here I have the time delay a little bit too high. I could probably tighten that a bit. So like this or so, around 200. Change the shape. Last time. That's good enough for me. And last but not least for all of these, let me turn this back to choir. There we go. Format shift up a little bit. Adding a bit of reverb also helps, I think. So if we go back to the first example, use M Turbo Reverb, have this one set here about a little bit over 2 seconds, almost 3 seconds, and about, let's do 35% wetness. So let's hear it one last time. So that's what I wanted to sound like. Of course, it's not perfect, but it's oftentimes better than a VST where it doesn't sound human at all. So please experiment with this. Tell me if it works for you. If you like this, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And until next time, see you.